Creating a new medicine is one of the toughest, most expensive, and honestly, most time-consuming challenges that we face in modern science. It is an absolute marathon of trial and error, a journey that is just filled with dead ends. But to really get a feel for the incredible breakthrough we're about to talk about, you first have to understand the massive scale of that challenge.
So, first up, the cost. On average, to bring just a single new drug from a lab bench to your local pharmacy, it costs a staggering $2.6 billion. That's billion with a B. It's an almost unimaginable amount of money for one medicine. And then there's the time. That one single drug will usually take somewhere between 10 to 15 years to make it all the way through research, development, and just layers and layers of testing. We're talking about a decade and a half of dedicated hard work. And here's the number that's the most brutal of all: 90%. That is the failure rate. So for every 10 drugs that even make it into clinical trials with real people, 9 of them will fail. They'll never reach the patients they were designed to help. The risk is just enormous. But what if we had a new kind of tool? A tool that could completely rewrite the rules, slash those insane costs, and compress that decade-long timeline? What if artificial intelligence could fundamentally change the entire equation of drug discovery?
Well, this isn't science fiction anymore. To tackle those brutal numbers, the cost, the time, the failures, AI is stepping into the lab, and it's already becoming one of the most powerful tools in all of medical research.
So when we say AI in this context, we're talking about really sophisticated machine learning and deep learning models. Just think of them as these super-powered researchers that can sift through gigantic, complex biological data sets. Things like genomic data, protein structures, clinical trial results, at a speed and scale that is just, completely beyond human capability. To really appreciate the impact, think about the old process. Scientists have to identify a target in the body. Then they screen millions of chemical compounds. Then they optimize the best ones. And then they run clinical trials. It's this long, slow, step-by-step journey. But AI can supercharge every single one of these steps, and often it can do them all at the same time. And the result of all this supercharging? It's a pretty incredible acceleration of the entire process. We are talking about shrinking timelines from years down to just a few months. And here is where you can see the quantifiable difference. Just look at the very first step, identifying a target. What used to take up to a year can now be done in as little as 1 month. Accuracy jumps way up, and costs can be cut by up to 40%. That's the power of AI right there. It's not just making the process faster, it's making it fundamentally smart. And believe me, this isn't just a theory. It's happening right now as we speak. The pace of AI-driven discovery is picking up speed, with major breakthroughs happening more and more often. We're even seeing autonomous, self-operating labs become a reality, constantly pushing the limits of what's possible. The real-world results are just stunning. Check this out. An AI platform took a new fibrosis drug from a basic idea to a preclinical candidate in just 18 months. A molecule for OCD got into clinical trials in only 1 year, instead of the usual 5. And in the race to fight Ebola, an AI identified 2 promising drug candidates in less than a single day. But, maybe the most famous example of AI's power so far is the incredible story of a totally new kind of antibiotic, and its name is Halicin. So the story starts back in 2019. Researchers at MIT were facing a huge, growing problem: antibiotic resistance. So they turned to their deep learning model and gave it a massive challenge. Could you please comb through a library of over 100 million molecules and find something that can kill bacteria, but in a way that no existing drug can? And the results? They were so groundbreaking they were published in the major scientific journal Cell, in a paper that basically signaled a whole new era for medical research. This was the moment AI really announced its arrival in the world of antibiotic discovery. So how long do you think it took the AI to find what it was looking for? Not years. Not even months. Get this, 3 days. In just 3 days, the model pinpointed a molecule with incredible antibiotic properties, one that actually worked against some of the most dangerous, drug-resistant bacteria on the planet. But what makes Halicin so special? Well, you see, most antibiotics are kind of like a key for a specific lock on a bacterium, a lock that bacteria can eventually learn to change. Halicin is different. It doesn't bother picking the lock. It just goes and pulls the main power cord for the entire building, shutting down the bacteria's whole energy supply. It's a method that is incredibly difficult for bacteria to evolve a resistance to. And as a little tribute to the technology that found it, the researchers named the molecule halicin, which is of course a clever nod to HAL 9000, the iconic AI from the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's a pretty fitting name for a discovery that feels like it's straight out of science fiction.
Okay, so as exciting as all of this is, the road ahead isn't perfectly smooth. I mean, integrating AI into a field this complex and highly regulated, well, it comes with some pretty big hurdles that we still need to figure out.
There are really three main hurdles. First, data quality. An AI model is only as smart as the data it learns from, so garbage in, garbage out. Then there's the black box problem. For science and for safety, we need to understand not just the AI's answer, but how it got there. And finally, regulators need to build totally new ways to evaluate and approve drugs that were discovered by a non-human intelligence.
But even with those challenges, the main takeaway here is crystal clear. AI isn't just a tool to speed up the old way of doing things, it's making a completely new approach possible. One that is smarter, way more precise, and ultimately a lot more efficient. This is a genuine paradigm shift.
And all of this leaves us with a really exciting final question. As this technology keeps evolving at an almost exponential rate, it's really not a matter of if AI will help cure a major disease, but when. So the question we're all left with is, which one is going to be first?